Okay, the first sponsor of the day is me and the Real Estate Center, and I'm going to take my 4 minutes, read a editorial I wrote and was published in the paper yesterday, the local paper, entitled Culture of Psychological Poison. I want to bring up that people with an insidious disease often don't know they're infected. And because of the insidious nature of carbon monoxide, state and federal laws were recently enacted to protect people from carbon monoxide poisoning. I personally knew someone in junior high that died of CO poisoning. As a former respiratory therapist, I treated a lot of CO poisoning. And I'm glad to see this law come about because it is an insidious problem. It's an odorless, colorless, tasteless gas that will sneak up on you and kill you. But here's something to think about. What about our economic crisis? What about the insidious nature of psychological poison caused by financial institutions? The collateral damage caused by banks and Wall Street is much greater than the number of carbon monoxide poisonings and much greater impact on our lives. There's more devastation caused by banks and servicing companies than CO casualties, and more than the sensational high-profile murder cases that have been in the news. While everyone is fixated recently on Casey Anthony, much is overlooked about the recent run of murder-suicides right here in San Diego County. Most have the common denominator of foreclosure, or at least economic hardship related to our foreclosure crisis. Dealing with banks, their servicers, loss mitigators is very frustrating. Just ask any realtor negotiating a short sale. Frustration leads to despair. Despair leads to irrational thoughts and actions. When people are in economic distress, banks almost never employ common sense, math, and compassion in dealing with them. Except for Wachovia. The Wachovia business model does employ those two elements, and I hope that Wells Fargo and other institutions follow that business model. With financial institutions, the pervasive culture of negligent failure to communicate with people is the insidious element, which is manifested in many forms. Sometimes it is willful, sometimes it's just an over-reliance on technology. Other times the servicers will say that the investor, who's almost never disclosed, has not provided an answer or a document. A file or a question crucial to the borrower or principal gets stuck in limbo. The financial institution keeps passing the buck, and it never stops anywhere, thus resulting in frustration and unreliable transactions. Business cannot be conducted in this manner without detrimental consequences. One must rely on communication. However, financial institutions choose to practice ineffective and inefficient communications, resulting in stress and frustration with anyone who has to deal with them. Stress produces cortisol in your body. It's a bad hormone, and it's related to cancer, heart disease, and stroke. And quite possibly the chemical imbalances in the brains of those who've gone off the deep end committing murder and suicide. This is why I say that the financial institutions harbor an insidious pathological poison, or psychological poison, like carbon monoxide. In my opinion, we will not have an economic recovery unless financial institutions start treating people as human beings. I do not have much sympathy for the ones who committed the murder-suicides, but I have less sympathy for the system of financial institutions that continue in a manner that spreads psychological poison. The horrible business practices of financial institutions are the root of our economic problems. These practices are caused by their inability or unwillingness to communicate and employ common sense, math, and compassion in dealing with people, especially people in economic distress. My sympathy lies with the innocent lives that have been lost or damaged. Financial institutions must change their hideous practices. Ironically, I see their problem as insidious, one that has infected everyone around them. They may not know they're infected. No one in the news media or our political leadership seems to be able to connect the dots in this manner. Why don't we have the FBI or Congress investigate it a little further? There's a lot of collateral damage that's been in the news regarding foreclosure. 60 Minutes is full of something every week. A year ago, Chase Bank illegally foreclosed on deployed military. A few months ago, robo-signers were employed by some rather big banks, city banks, to illegally foreclose or speed up the foreclosure process. There's a rise in the number of homeless veterans. This was on 60 Minutes not too long ago, and homeless children. There's a lot of collateral damage caused by our foreclosure crisis, and nobody is talking about it as much as, let's say, Casey Anthony or some other high-profile murder case. So what are we going to do about it? Okay, our leadership needs to bring it to our attention. I had the opportunity yesterday to hand this to 2 city mayors at a city hall meeting in San Marcos. But, you know, it's up to us. You know, you can roll over and play dead and give the financial institutions another free pass, or you can take it upon yourself to do something. And I'll conclude. Did I go over 4 minutes?
Not that I know of.
In our day-to-day practice as realtors, we have a duty to the public. Your advice could help save a family or a life. Thank you.
Thank you.